I mean, where do we even begin? I guess at the top of this week, you had the media trying to convince you that I was unhinged, that I had gone crazy because I was freaking out over the fact that the ADL was trying to rehabilitate a convicted pedophile. And that was not true. Obviously, everything they were saying was not true. But today I am feeling a little bit unhinged and a little crazy because I had planned to announce to you guys today that I was going to vote for Kamala Harris, truly, because Beyonce was supposed to perform at the DNC. And everybody knows that if you're black and Beyonce tells you how to vote, you simply do it. But no, after all of the hype, she made no such appearance, which means I'm going to have to vote on the issues instead. And I feel like today I'm going to have to take a stance for black people who are just feeling tremendously let down from all of the hype they did not deliver on. In other news, it looks like RFK Jr. has officially dropped out and endorsed Trump. We're going to speak about that. And if for some reason you thought it was going to end with Rabbi Shmuley contacting the FBI over unkosher pizza, you have not been paying attention to my life recently. Because apparently the Home Affairs Minister of Australia has said he plans to personally block my visa application to enter the country after being pressured by the Zionist Federation of Australia. What on earth is going on, people? Let's talk about it. All that coming up. And plus, as I promised you in the chat, I have the raw footage of the video of me singing in the intro to share with you. That's what's coming up on Candace. Beyonce, Beyonce, wherefore art thou to Beyonce? Deny thy father and refuse thy name. I mean, truly, where was she? People waited up all night because, well, let me just back it up, actually. Let me tell you how we even got here. So what happened was the night before the last night of the convention, of course, they premiered Oprah. We always expect Oprah. She's kind of a big get always for the Democrats, and she always gets a thunderous applause and gives a speech that really people don't agree with coming from her, but it's Oprah, so who cares? Here's what she had to say, a quick snippet.
From the redwood forests, love those redwoods, to the Gulf Stream waters, I've seen racism and sexism and income inequality and division. I've not only seen it, at times I've been on the receiving end of it.
Yeah, here's what I'm going to say. Oprah's worth $2.7 billion. So whatever is going on between the redwood forest and the trees and like the racism and sexism that she's receiving, I want it. I just want to say that, put it out there. Whatever she is getting, I want. I will take all of it for her. Like I said, it doesn't really matter what she says or how ridiculous it sounds with her wealth. People eat it up because it's Oprah, and that's acceptable. But then what happened was a staffer, an unknown staffer running an account, leaked this onto Twitter. They wrote, I've been sworn to secrecy, but you don't want to miss the DNC tonight. If you thought the Oprah surprise was big, just wait. And immediately people started saying it's Taylor Swift or it's Beyonce, because that's that. If you're going to say you're bigger than Oprah, you only got so many people that you can realistically pull from, and it would be Taylor Swift. And I was like, nah, it's not Taylor Swift. It's got to be a black person because they got to go for the black vote always. They don't kind of do that nonsense with white people. You know, Taylor Swift is who they roll out when they want to get people watching the NFL that don't traditionally watch the NFL. Right? This is not going to be a good get for the DNC. And so I was like, Beyonce sounds about correct, because they do wheel her out. Typically, she notoriously was there the night before we went to the voting polls for Hillary Clinton. I just will never forget that. It was her. It was Jay-Z, and Black America was like, that's it. I am with her. So I was like, okay, here it is. Beyonce, she is coming. And then we were kind of leading up, warming up in the evening, and they brought out another young woman named Amanda Gorman, who is a poet. I'll tell you some other stuff about her. She's a young poet who graduated from Harvard in 2020. And she has a degree in sociology. This woman's been on the cover of Time. She also delivered a poem, the youngest ever to deliver a poem at an inauguration. She did that for Joe Biden in 2021. So she is big. That's like, she was like the warm-up act for Beyonce. And the poem was, I'm just going to let you guys listen to it.
We gather at this hallowed place because we believe in the American dream. We face a race that tests if this country we cherish shall perish from the earth. and if our earth shall perish from this country.
I don't know what to say. I'm going to say something nice. First off, she has amazing skin. Her skin is glowing. She's a very beautiful young lady. I'm just not sure what poetry is anymore. I don't know. I just remember poetry being somewhat more complex. That to me just sounded like she was talking in a slow tone. But, you know, my theory on the education system, it's not a shot at Amanda Gorman, is that everybody's getting degrees and we're handing out more degrees than we've ever handed out. And I'm just not sure if it's the same pool of candidates that we had some decades ago when you were allowed to go to Harvard. Like, I'm not sure if David Hogg graduating from Harvard is a good indication of where the education system is going. But like I said, she was the warm-up act, and at least her hair, skin, she looks amazing. And we were going, okay, like, we're getting bigger, we're growing here, where are we headed? And then TMZ, they always have an inside scoop. They dropped it. They said it is confirmed. Beyonce performing at the DNC's final night, 3 exclamation points, and the internet got hyped. The article read, Beyonce's in Chicago and getting ready to pop out for Kamala Harris in the final night of the Democratic National Convention. Multiple sources in the know tell us Queen Bee will be the big surprise performer as VP Harris officially accepts the Democratic Party's nomination to run for president. And then they were correct. They wrote, as you'd expect, Beyonce's appearance is a huge deal, not only for Harris and the party, but in Chicago as well. We're told Chicago PD is on high alert as it's involved in security for Beyonce at the United Center Arena, as it should be. The Queen is here, and she's going to get all the black votes for the Democratic Party. That's what they need. And so it was official. And some people were even celebrating because they told you so. Like Don Lemon, he was giddy. Take a listen.
Beyonce is confirmed performing at the DNC. Didn't I tell y'all?
He's such a weird person. I like love and hate him at the exact same time. I can't explain it. He's just so Don Lemon, you know. You gotta appreciate it. Didn't I tell y'all? So people were like, "Yes, it's amazing, it's happening," and then what happened next was that it didn't happen at all. It didn't even kind of happen. Well, maybe if you count Kamala Harris when she hit the stage, she walked out to Beyonce's song Freedom. And she just came out there and people went crazy and they heard the Freedom song and probably a little bit they still thought, okay, maybe Beyonce's like around the corner, maybe she's behind her. But no, that was it. Like it was just Kamala Harris. And so instantly, obviously, the left-leaning networks worked overtime to kind of spin this to the people to make them realize, like, this is not disappointing. Like, we lied to you and we leaked the fact that Beyonce was coming and she didn't come, but you should still be encouraged because take it away, CNN.
In anticipation here and elsewhere that there may be a special guest. I am told by Democrats that Kamala Harris was their guest. They did not want a celebrity at the end of this convention to essentially compete with her. One senior advisor telling me this is a deadly serious election. And if you looked at the end of this program, having Leon Panetta come on, the former defense secretary, really presenting Vice President Harris as a plausible commander-in-chief, that is one of the reasons I'm told that there was not a celebrity performance at the end.
And he probably deserved to be punched in the face for that excuse, like just saying basically Kamala is your new Beyonce. Take it or leave it. We didn't want anybody to take away the energy away from Kamala. Like, this is your new Beyonce. So we said it was Beyonce, but what we meant is like, it's kind of like a Beyonce. You know, Kamala is the new thing. She's black and we expect you to worship her. And so what if she doesn't sing or she can barely speak any English? We saved it for the end because we wanted to introduce you to your new black, formerly Indian American queen. And I don't think that that made much sense. I also really appreciated when he said, you know, this is a deadly serious election. I mean, we're not here to play games and make you think that you should have, you know, celebrities to follow. That would be, by the way, a very good policy. Like, we shouldn't be using stars to attract votes. I just feel like maybe that CNN reporter forgot that they had already brought Little John out on stage. Remember? Take a listen.
Georgia, how do you cast your votes?
Yeah! Deadly serious election, y'all. Deadly serious. So it was the old bait and switch. It happens, and it shouldn't happen, but it did, and we're going to have to just accept that And I appreciate everybody making TikToks explaining how upset they are by this. And this is one young lady who took to TikTok to vent her frustration. Take a listen.
Whoever started the rumor that Beyonce was going to be at the DNC convention tonight, I hope your pillow stays hot on both sides. The way that I stayed up to damn near midnight to have Beyonce all in my mouth like liquor just for y'all to play in my face, you should be ashamed of yourself. I'm like 15 minutes and it's about to be over, and I see a tweet that says Beyonce's not even coming. Why would y'all play like that? Like, why would y'all play like that? The whole thing was good, by the way. Don't get me wrong. I enjoyed it from start to finish. But why would y'all sit there and tell us Beyonce was coming when you knew she wasn't? I'm going to sleep.
First and foremost, I completely agree with this girl. And I'm going to start saying that to people. Like, you know what I give you, what I curse you with? Yeah, a hot pillow on both sides. Because how dare you pull the old, what we now refer to as the bait and switch, and not bring her out. And I also want to point to the fact that that girl just riffing sounded to me like modern poetry. Get that girl a scholarship to Harvard, put her on the cover of Time magazine. And she also similarly has great skin. But she asked the question, why would they do this? And so I just want to very quickly answer you, because they know that if they suggest that Beyonce is going to be somewhere, that all Black Americans will pay attention. And all they actually wanted you to do was pay attention to everything else that was happening that evening to bring you and draw you into the party, not on the basis of their ideas, not on the basis of their values, but on the basis of, hey, like, you know, you like Beyonce, we've got Lil Jon. We earlier gave you Megan Thee Stallion raising money. Don't you see we are the party that at least recognizes that Beyonce is the queen? And again, this is your new, formerly Indian, now fully Black queen, Kamala Harris. Take it or leave it, ladies and gentlemen. And for me personally, I just would like to leave it. And that's all I'm going to say on that topic. I want to throw it to one of our amazing sponsors, by the way. We can do some good in the world. If you've heard about 7 Weeks Coffee, you're already drinking coffee. Why not drink coffee that aligns perfectly with conservative and Christian values? They're on the mission to fund the pro-life movement, one cup of delicious coffee at a time. 7 Weeks Coffee cuts out the middleman, paying farmers directly and giving them 300% more than fair trade requires. 7 Weeks Coffee is launching an exciting new initiative called Drink More Coffee, Save More Lives, because they are so close to saving 5,000 lives. By the way, if you're wondering about their name, at 7 weeks of a baby's development, the baby is the size of a coffee bean, and it's the first time a heartbeat is clearly detected on an ultrasound. That's why they donate 10% of every sale to support ultrasound services at pregnancy care centers across the country. For my listeners, when you subscribe, you'll receive extra savings and get a free Drink Coffee, Save Lives tote on your first order. So go to 7weekscoffee.com and use code Canada to save up to 25%. Make the commitment to drink 7 Weeks Coffee every morning, and you'll be a part of funding the pro-life movement and helping to save over 5,000 baby lives and counting. That's 7weekscoffee.com and use code Candace to save up to 25% off. Okay, guys, we got to get into this story because this is crazy. And maybe it's not crazy. I don't know. I'm not Australian. I've never been to Australia. It's my first time. I guess I should put it into context that this would be crazy in America because we are so radical about speech. Like, I could never imagine anybody in government being like, I'm going to personally see to it that this person does not come into my country because I don't like their speech. Even left and right, tons of disagreements, but like, we very much believe in the 1A. You know, we just believe in freedom of speech and freedom of debate. And if we ever said something that extreme, it would have to be because, you know, Jeffrey Epstein was coming after he had been convicted. Like, it would have to be something that we were just all so incensed about the crime that someone committed that we didn't want someone to step foot on American soil. So I was so shocked to woke up today to this news. It says, and I'll just read to you the headline here. It was in the news.com Australia, Home Affairs Minister Tony Burke to personally review the visa of far-right commentator Candace Owens. It reads, the Home Affairs Minister says he will personally review the visa application of far-right pundit Candace Owens, saying that he hopes she has, quote, a good refunds policy. I mean, I told you guys yesterday, we've already sold out of VIP tickets all across Australia. I'm so looking forward to going this. Apparently, he has been lobbied by the Zionist Federation, and he says that he is going to personally review the visa application, and this is coming from the publication, of far-right anti-Semitic speaker Candace Owens, who is scheduled to come to Australia in November for a speaking tour. Mr. Burke, who has discretionary ministerial powers to block or refuse a visa, said it appeared Owens had yet to make an application 3 months out from the shows. And this is what they're purporting is a direct quote from him. Tickets to these events are selling for $100. I hope she has a good refunds policy. He goes on to say, my opposition to anti-Semitism and Islamophobia has always been on the record. I have clear legal powers to knock back a visa to anyone who would incite discord. His strong stance has been welcomed by the Executive Council of Australian Jewry, co-chief executive Peter Werdum. Peter says, at a time of unprecedented strains on the cohesiveness of the Australian society, which is very largely the outcome of ignorant and malicious comment on social media, the last thing we need to be importing into our country is yet another so-called celebrity who has made racist and bigoted comments about Jews and other vulnerable groups. Okay, lot going on there. I do also want to point out that virtually everything that is being purported that I said was definitely not said. As I told you earlier, the Zionist Federation of Australia actually publicly posted on their Instagram calling for me not to be allowed into their country. This, again, I don't know if this is just an American thing. I've never been there. I always assumed there was some like synergy between Australians and Americans and that there was this like freedom-minded mentality. It'll be my first time there, and I guess I'll get some sort of an assessment. But unimaginable, just truly unimaginable that anyone would take this stance over speech that you're not even citing accurately. This was what was posted by the Zionist Federation of Australia. They wrote, the Zionist Federation of Australia calls for Candace Owens to be refused a visa to enter Australia. Like, what? We believe that granting Candace Owens a visa poses a significant risk of inciting discord within the Australian community and vilifying Jewish Australians along with other minority and ethnic groups. And then they accuse me of extremism and bigotry and all sorts of things. And in the actual caption, they wrote this. She has referred to transgenderism as clinical insanity. I just want to be clear. I did not refer to it as clinical insanity. I learned this in school. I graduated, and in our DSM-5 manual, it was cited. When I was growing up, I understand these things change with every year, that it was a mental disorder. That is what I said. That is just a fact. So presenting this as, clinical insanity is an interesting take on that, and described the LGBTQ plus community. They write this, by the way, and she described the LGBTQ plus community as engaging in sexual debauchery. Okay, again, something intentionally taken out of context. What I am referring to is Pride Month in America across the cities. We have shown you examples of the sexual debauchery that is now taking place at Pride parades. Men riding bicycles naked, men dressed up in BDSM, like leather chains and whips, and basically just acting out sexual fetishes in the name of pride, which I find to be, as a mother, unacceptable. I do not think that this is exemplary of what the LGBTQ community is. And so I call it out because it's wrong and it's perverse. And to make it seem as though I am attacking the LGBTQ plus community, when in fact I feel I'm defending them for people who I believe have this sort of fetish, extreme sexual fetishes that are kind of operating and pretending that this is just about, oh, I'm just lesbian or I'm gay. Like, I grew up in the 90s. People were gay and lesbian, and it didn't spell out that they wanted to wear like leather assless chaps and whip someone in the behind down the street while children were looking. That's a defense, actually, of the LGBTQ plus community. He goes on to write, additionally, she has dangerously insinuated that trans people have been responsible for an increase in mass shootings. Again, this is so dishonest for the Zionist Federation of America to publish this. What I said was an absolute fact. There has been an uptick in America. The last recent shootings that have happened in America have been executed by people that identify as non-binary or transgendered. So we have to talk about the facts without pretending that presenting a fact is a form of bigotry or a form of hate. And I introduce that fact because what I always say is missing from that conversation when we speak about school shootings is trying to understand what drugs people are on that could be impacting their mind. That is an incredibly reasonable take to have that I feel like the Zionist Federation is trying to reposition as a hateful thing. I'm a mother to 3 young children, wanting to get to the root of what is inspiring these shootings. At least, by the way, I'm in Nashville. Quite literally, a trans person just shot up an elementary school last year. And to say that we're barred from discussing that aspect, and you say you're doing that out of love, I don't know. That feels to me like hate for parents who want to go over and above to protect their children by understanding the issues at hand. Then they say, Her harmful rhetoric extends beyond the LGBTQ plus community. Owens has publicly claimed that Muslims started slavery and was disturbingly mentioned in the manifesto of the Christchurch mosque shooter as a significant influence. This just gets dizzying. I can't think of anything more horrific than trying to point to a manifesto which an insane person wrote at the exact same time that you're trying to sell to people that I'm pro-Hamas and anti-Jewish. You're also simultaneously trying to sell to Muslims that I hate them too. So I just hate everybody. There's like no one that I like. There's no side that I'm on. This is exactly why we need to start having these conversations, because when the media engages in this, removing things from context, sometimes just flat out lying, even going so far as to assign meaning to a manifesto that somebody wrote in New Zealand, a place that I've never been to, regarding a topic that I've never spoken about. I actually don't speak about Muslim issues, so it's completely crazy to say this or to pretend that I would ever want a mosque to be shut out, but that's what he's implying, that I wanted a mosque to go through this horrific terrorist attack. That's what he's trying to implant. The Zionist Federation of America is trying to implant that into the minds of Americans, into the mind of Australians, pardon. How is this okay? Why is this okay? Simply because you don't agree with something that I've said, you're going to be hyperbolic and remove things from their context and not tell the truth. This is not dignifying for the Zionist Federation of America. I mean that sincerely. I think this leans into terrible stereotypes when you're calling for someone, you're calling for censorship, you're smearing them. By the way, in that same manifesto, the guy cited Nelson Mandela as an inspiration. Nelson Mandela, would you say awful things about Nelson Mandela? He also cited a child's cartoon. Do you know what was wrong with that guy? He was just insane. So you don't need to assign meaning to something that an insane person has said simply because you don't like me. And when you engage in this, right, it's harmful to the cause that you purport to care so much about, Zionism. Because when people see this and they say, wow, this Zionist, is this what they believe in? Just speech censorship and pretending, or they are able to go through this and realize that you're not telling the full truth. It causes backlash on the Zionist movement. And I really wanted to call that out because I see this sort of vicious cycle taking place. And I think there's something that should be separated here, actually. I had a good conversation with a young woman today who had commented under this post. By the way, I want to be clear, Jewish people commented under this post and said, this is not the way. So let's actually tether ourselves to reality that Jewish people don't agree with this, censoring speech. And this is kind of the problem when organizations sort of elect themselves to speak on behalf of Jewish people and do stuff like this. Like I said, it reflects badly on Jewish people who are Zionists. But somebody who I had a great conversation with on Twitter, I think actually might have a piece of that conversation, kind of said to me, look, there's Zionism, and then there are radicals who use the Zionist community to hide behind, just like any other radicals using any other communities, Republican community, Black community, Muslim community, even the Christian community, etc., as a front for the crazy ideologies or hatred. And you know what? She's right. And I haven't done a good job of that in the past, of trying to separate and say, I'm referring to radical Zionists, right? I'm referring to people that will lie, who will threaten, who will smear, who will libel because they don't like a position that you've taken. People that will take things out of context, right? Just like this, taking things that I've said in the past out of context to just make everyone believe that I'm so hateful that I shouldn't even be allowed to travel. That's very extreme. That actually is a form of extremism in my viewpoint. And actually sort of another issue that recently happened actually this morning that I think really underscores this, and I want to be clear, I'm not at all conflating myself with the victims of the October 7th attack and the hostages that are still being held by Hamas. But I saw this and I was like, this really shows you what I'm speaking about in terms of the media constantly being willing to lie on people to further their own interests. There was a hostage who was taken. Her name is Noah Argamani, and I'll show you a picture of her. Beautiful young lady. She was taken on October 7th. You kind of remember, I don't think we're going to show it, but there was a picture that went very viral of her. Oh, there it is. Yeah, and you remember this, and she was screaming when she was taken, saying, please don't kill me. Well, remarkably, they were able to rescue her and to free her back in June. And on Wednesday, she spoke with the G7 embassy representatives in Tokyo, and she detailed everything that she had been through while being held captive by the Palestinian armed groups during the 7th October attack. And she gave a very moving testimony. She asserted how fearful she was, recalling falling asleep each night in Hamas captivity, fearing that it was going to be the last night of her life. You can just imagine just this like beautiful young woman having gone through this. That should have been enough. Her testimony should have been enough. There's no need to lie about her testimony. And guess what? They did. The media lied about her testimony. And today she was forced to issue this statement on Instagram saying that some of her remarks had been intentionally misquoted and taken out of context. Here's exactly what she wrote. I'm showing it to you guys in Hebrew. I will translate it. If I get a word wrong, please don't harm me. But it says, I cannot ignore what the Israeli media has done to me over the past 24 hours, taking my words out of context. Al-Qassam Brigade's members did not hit me while I was in captivity, nor did they cut my hair. I was injured by the collapse of a wall that was caused by an Israeli airstrike. I emphasize that no one hit me during captivity, but I was injured all over my body after the airstrike. I am a victim of the October 7th incident, and I refuse to be victimized again by the Israeli media. That's an incredible statement, right? And as I said, what she's been through is harrowing enough. Like you don't need to pretend that she got her hair chopped off or that she got beat up by Hamas. Like no one's going, oh, well, if they didn't hit her, then it's totally fine that they took her. No one thinks that. It's not fine that they took her. This woman was kidnapped, and she was also kidnapped with her boyfriend who remains in captivity. And she has a powerful voice, and she's telling you what she lived through. And yet you have people in the media that go, we need to make everything sound so hyperbolic because we want people to be on our side. And this is not the way. I am telling you, this is not the way. The truth really is enough. And that is what we are referring to when we say that there is this like radical fringe that is breaking out that doesn't understand, when I think the majority of people who are Zionists just are like, hey, we want the hostages returned and we want to hear their testimony. And then you get these people who are like, nope, we're going to make extreme stuff so that we can, make people hate Hamas even more. And again, the truth is always enough. So that is my perspective. And to Noah Argamani, I feel terrible that you went through that at all. As a hostage, the video was very hard to watch of you being taken. And then to have to couple that with just thinking that what you've been through is not enough is especially horrific. All right, guys, I do also want to pause here and throw it to another one of my sponsors, Goldco. With inflation at an all-time high and more boosters the government is trying to give you, if you think that your money and retirement savings are safe, it is time for you to reevaluate. You need to consider diversifying your savings into a tangible asset that has stood the test of time. I am talking about gold from Goldco. I want you to go right now to CandaceLikesGold.com. They have an incredible team that will guide you every step of the way. Their experts will show you how Goldco is one of the top-rated precious metals companies out there. Goldco is a great company, and they support this show. And for my listeners, you can get up to a 10% instant match in bonus silver on qualified orders. Whether you've got an IRA that you are looking to transfer to a gold IRA, or you just want to buy precious metals you can physically hold on to, Goldco can help. So go to CandaceLikesGold.com. That's CandaceLikesGold.com. All right, guys, honorable mention here. It looks like RFK Jr. is dropping out of the race. Yes, he has announced that he is dropping out of the race. He has also endorsed Trump. I will show you a clip of that announcement. Take a listen.
Three great causes drove me to enter this race in the first place, primarily. And these are the principal causes that persuaded me to leave the Democratic Party and run as an independent. And now to throw my support to President Trump. The causes were free speech, the war in Ukraine, and the war on our children.
So it's great. Obviously, people have been waiting for this. There were some rumblings saying that he was going to do this, and I'm glad that he did. I think that it will add to a little boost for the Trump campaign. Look, tons of stuff that I liked about RFK Jr. I have been very vocal about the fact that I am anti-vax. I know it's supposed to be like a dirty term or something. I do not vaccinate my children, and I feel remarkably educated in my decision to do that because of RFK Jr. and the work that he did through his charity organization, Children's Health Defense. I mean, he will forever be a person that I am grateful for because of that. Some of his policies I was not so keen on. I think some of them, specifically, I can give you one. Like I thought he was quite radical on abortion, like really taking the bait, I guess, so to speak. And I think that was something that I couldn't agree with. But the reality is that a lot of conservative moms, suburban moms, really loved RFK Jr. And some of them are still iffy on Trump or have felt iffy in the past about Trump. And so I think that RFK Jr. getting behind him and saying, hey, this is the way to go if we're going to unite. I'm an independent, but I'm telling you that the better of the two options here is Donald Trump. That's going to be meaningful. And Trump had been teasing that, by the way, all week, or not all week, for the last couple of days, saying that they were going to have a surprise guest at his Arizona rally, and it looks like that's likely going to be RFK Jr. So we'll continue to monitor that, but I'm just grateful that he's done that, because we're almost here, guys. It's just really just a few more weeks before it is going to be Election Day, and we need to now just try to have a party that is consolidated, a party that is focused on winning, and this is going to be a major add to that. All right, guys, before I get into your comments, I do want to show you, I promise, okay, one of you guys had said, Candace, actually a lot of you in the comments say, I always want to know what Candace is singing in that video in the beginning when I'm holding the mic. And I had to go back and get the video and show you guys what it was that I was singing. I want to be clear and have a great voice, but I had confidence. And I do want you guys, when you're watching this video, to look at my older sister who's looking at me, like trying to make me feel bad because I can't sing that good. Oh, she's just so shady. I told her, I was like, you are just so shady. You didn't believe in me, but I believed in myself and in my singing capabilities that I did not have when I was just a little tot. So take it away, little Candace. So you're probably like, I still didn't understand what song it was. That was SWV, Weak in the Knees. You guys know that song? I get so weak in the knees, I can hardly speak. That song. And I had all the confidence in the world. And there you go. So I just went for it. Boo you, Ashley. My older sister, boo you. Seriously. I had it. I had the it factor there. And it just didn't, I wasn't able to sing. All right, going to thank our last sponsor before I get into your comments. I'm sure you guys have heard me talk about American financing, especially right now, because there are so many people that are stressed because the monthly income is not seeming to cover bills anymore. Well, I want you to know that you're not alone. A lot of Americans are feeling this way. Everything is getting more expensive. People are reaching more and more for their credit cards to cover the basics like childcare, insurance, power, food even. It's tough. And if you're feeling this way, stop and call American Financing. They are helping hardworking Americans just like you tap into their home's equity line to pay off their high interest debt and even create some additional savings to be ready for whatever life throws your way. With interest rates dropping, a company like American Financing that never charges any upfront or hidden fees is the perfect partner to help you get into a better financial position. Their consultants are saving homeowners over $800 a month on average. Waiting is not an option, so call 800-795-1210. That's 800-795-1210, or you can visit americanfinancing.net/Owens. Okay, let's get into some of your comments. I hope you guys are nice. This person is just nice. AB writes, you're the best, Candace. The Pithy Patriot writes, do you think Jesus was angry in the temple because false Jews were committing satanic rituals in real life, but just money changers? Come on, make it make sense. I mean, a lot of people are asking about basically just biblical passages pertaining to fake Jews. And obviously I've spoken out about a cult, a satanic cult that actually did in fact infiltrate all of the Abrahamic religions. Zeker Booms writes, will you talk about the Tate brothers new-ish? What did I miss? I felt like I covered the Tate brothers for the last 2 days and maybe you guys needed a break. I guess I'll wait for the weekend update, but I think the last thing was that they got raided. If I've missed something since then, I'm just not aware of it at this exact second, so I'm sorry for that. Karen writes, Candace, please check out Citizens Commission on Human Rights, the history of psychology and the crimes of Big Pharma. Why do you think we have been so vilified? We have been exposing them and fighting the human atrocities. Thank you so much. I'm understanding that you guys are an international nonprofit that was established by the Church of Scientology. What I will say is that I do recall that clip of Tom Cruise when he was ahead of his time, speaking about the ills of putting children on medicine that messes with their minds. And he was sort of laughed out of polite society for having said that so early. And I always look back on people, the celebrities who were kind of the first to speak out against vaccines for children. And similarly, they were treated like they were completely insane. And I'm just glad that that conversation is finally shifting and people are starting to realize that there is something wrong, I believe, with Big Pharma and as well, which I would include in its house psychology. The one person writes, what the hell was that girl talking about regarding Amanda Gorman, the poet? I don't know. I think honestly, she was just talking in slow form. But like I said, she had really great skin. All In writes, originally, magical wands were made from branches of the holly tree, hence the term Hollywood and its Aleister Crowley magic-based founding. Wow, what a tidbit. Guys, I'm telling you, if you haven't read it yet, go read Hollywood Babylon by Kenneth Anger. It is very, very deranged and demonic that people don't know what are the origins, what the origins are of Hollywood. And it is all very, very, very occult. AB writes again, Candace, I want to welcome you to the Catholic Church. I know it's been a while since, but wanted to welcome you. Thank you. I am so happy and excited every day to be a part of the Catholic family. The way that the Catholics defend me, like this is a true story, but they have these like AI like spam things. And I'm speaking at a Catholic event this weekend in Niagara Falls, New York, and they literally got 3,500 like spam emails telling them that they better cancel the event because Candace Owens doesn't, is a Holocaust denier, like all sorts of crazy stuff. And they just like peer pressured them so much. And I had a little bit of a chuckle because I was like, guys, Catholics built different. Like they are not going to believe stuff like that. And I'm very much looking forward to doing that event, but I'm just blessed to be a Catholic at this moment in time because I do think that the Catholic and the Orthodox communities really, really fight the hardest when it comes to Christians and some of the persecutions that we face. And I don't say that with any disrespect to the Protestants. I have seen that already and it feels good. I feel like I am, in fact, home. Lucian writes, huge respect for what you do here. God bless you and your family. Men needed now, with Patrick Carlin writes, what can we do more to prosecute all these liars in public? I'm tired of them getting away with it over and over. Know any good lawyers? Well, I think that we absolutely, one thing that needs to happen is New York Times versus Sullivan. Send it back up, send it back to the Supreme Court because I cannot believe that you are literally allowed to lie about public figures. This is a struggle that I face. They can literally lie. They can't do this in the UK, so I don't face the same smears and the same attacks. And if they do it and you instantly send them a letter, they change the article quickly because they have defamation laws that are strong. But in America, it's just a free-for-all. You can lie, you can say whatever you want about someone. And of course, they know that people just believe everything that's in print. It's awful. We absolutely must reverse the New York Times versus Sullivan decision. Alicia writes, the Beyonce stunt at the DNC is just a preview of how Kamala will do as POTUS. Yes, I totally agree. King Lalabella writes, the Kebra Nagas narrates the story of the Queen of Sheba's visit to King Solomon and the Ark of the Covenant's migration to Ethiopia. Thank you for that. Sarah writes, Candace needs to sue everybody. I know, man. If I had unlimited funds, I would just sue everyone. Like I would just be out here sitting back and just suing. I'm like, I'm going to sue you. I'm going to sue you. I'm just going to be the most litigious person ever. But honestly, when you do that, it boggles you down as well. And the best revenge, what these reporters hate more than legal letters, is just happiness. They hate happiness and they hate success. They hate knowing that it didn't work. And so them seeing the success of the show this week, more views than I think we've ever gotten over the past 2 weeks, that will drive them crazier than keeping them in a courtroom for something that they know they're never going to get punished for in the end because of New York Times versus Sullivan. Blech. Pardon me. This person writes, I wish people would not normalize Zionism. I personally just wish people would be willing to debate it. You get some Zionists who do, like Dennis Prager. That's why I always throw him a compliment because he's a Zionist and he's level-headed and he wants to bring people to his side by debating his ideas. But I do find that there is a large contingent that is quite censorious, radical, and if you don't agree with me, I want to shut down your speech. I'm going to send, 3,500 letters to where you're due to speak and try to harass people into canceling you. That's not good. That's definitely not going to bring people over to your side. Ashara writes, Candace, you look really beautiful today. Thank you, Ashara. Cynthia writes, I love you, Candace. Been following you forever. My dad wants you as Trump's VP. O'Radley writes, talk to Lauren Southern about her experience with Australia. I do believe that her visa did get denied, which is wild. If you're not a criminal, how does that happen? It's difficult for me to comprehend that as an American. RMNL writes, with all the respect, Candace, you look great today. Watching from work again. Do you think that they will rig the election again this year? Funny, thank you for the compliment. I did have my first radio interview with Australia and New Zealand yesterday, and both times they said, do you think Trump's going to win? And I said, I think the majority of Americans are just wondering whether or not we have legitimate elections. We don't even want to get into the game of prognostications because we don't know that the issues of the last election have been resolved, just like mailing in a ballot to everybody. And so I totally agree with you. Leah writes, will you please have Dennis Prager on? I love you both, and I would love to hear two brilliant minds speak rationally together. I totally think that we should absolutely do that without question. Have Leah on. Jumping into the live chat, you have, what do we have going on? Basketball frames. Very disappointed you don't respect Nick. Yeah, I saw this, people tagging me saying that you don't respect Nick. I don't even know what the genesis of this is. Like, what are we talking about? You don't respect Nick Fuentes. Where is this even coming from? People saying, will you have Nick Fuentes on YouTube? Every single person in the world knows that my show is on YouTube. Nick Fuentes is banned from YouTube. Like, he's not allowed to be on YouTube. You will get a strike if you are on YouTube. So you're asking me to have a conversation with Nick Fuentes, put it up on a different platform that I'm not on, just because you want me to have a conversation with him, and then saying out of respect, nothing. Okay, two sides of this that drive me crazy. I get very annoyed when I'm on like Piers Morgan and then they ask me like, do you disavow Nick Fuentes, right? Because I didn't make a vow to Nick Fuentes. Nick Fuentes is not my husband. It's this leftist tactic of like trying to get people to disavow an entire human being rather than to simply say what I don't agree with. That's why I don't engage in it. I've never done it. I think it's stupid. If you have a statement that Nick Fuentes has said and you want to ask me if I agree with it, I will say yes or no. But you're not going to get me to play your little leftist game, which is really just cancel culture, and you guys do it all the time. But on the other side of that, this like weird kind of like, have you paid your respects? It's the same thing. Like, I have always been an honest person. I communicate exactly what it is that I think, exactly what it is that I am going through. I have no vows to any person but my husband, plain and simple. And so I have said several times, there was not a single person that I would not have a conversation with. Actually, there's one. I'm thinking about one person. I'm not going to say the person's name because I just think the person is just always trolling. But I would not have a conversation with any other person in the world. And by saying, like, you have to have a conversation, like, the vibes of that are weird. And I told you guys yesterday, like, I don't understand, and I haven't looked into, like, these attacks on Dave Smith. I absolutely love Dave Smith, and I want to work with Dave Smith more on kind of learning history, you know, and he seems to be a great resource of history, and he's been very courageous in standing up to the Zionist lobby, or I say the radical Zionists, that attack him all the time and tell him that he's not Jewish. So it just feels like one of these things where I'm not sure what all this is about. So I'm happy to read your comments and read your assessments of what that is, but I see that popping up, and I'm just not sure where it's coming from, to be honest with you. This person writes, I'm a Catholic, but I think of going to, oops, I'm sorry, it just completely went away. Going to a Protestant evangelical church next. Catholicism doesn't seem to be for me. That is totally, you know, everybody is on their own faith journey. I always hope that people end up back into the one holy apostolic church, but I try not to be a pusher of it. But you better be Catholic. Catholic gang. That's where it's at. All right, guys, that's the end of the week. It's been a tremendous week. I thank you guys so much. If you'd like to support the show, head to locals.com. Give whatever it is that you can give. No pressure if you can't. I always say just keep praying, because I am convinced that the prayers have kept me safe this long. If you want to support the show by buying something, head to clubcandace.com. You can buy a t-shirt, you can buy a Standis cup. And I just want to, again, thank you guys, because I would not be here without you. We'll see you next week.